Right, as you can see, what we've done now is we've started to make the silo for the new extension we've put in. Where we saw this one was at Wetwang, a place called Warren Percy, which is a medieval village. There's nothing left there now but just a church and a few bits. But just along the track, there's a railway track that runs along its side of it to Malton. There was a cement works. This building is still there. It's deserted now. It's in a bit of disrepair. But what we've done is we decided we'd bought some hopper wagons for our Garrett locomotive, which were these, the American ones. But we're going to we've took all the bits off. We're going to put Earl cement on, which was local to us in Hull. So we're going to go Earl cement on them, and we decided to make the actual silo. So this is the first part. This is where you brought a smaller wagon in with the great big lumps of chalk into it. It was tipped out, crushed in a crusher, taken up the silo, and then back into here, then loaded back into the wagons. There was an office in the middle. When you look at the pictures, we'll put some pictures of the original one. We can't get everything in it. It's obvious we don't have the space to put everything, so we've reduced it down. There is a brick building at the back. This is just concrete. They've made it out of concrete sections and whatever they make concrete buildings out of. So we've copied it. I mean, obviously Pat's got to paint it and we'll get it there. So what we're doing now is we've made two sides. I'll just put that safe. We made that side and the outside. They had windows in both. It's just like a simple pane window. I suppose that's just purely to give light into it. There was a little bit of decoration, a little bit of trellising goes around there. There's a platform goes on this piece, comes out about 2 or 3 inches, goes down, and it was a ladder at this end what brought you onto this platform, and from there was a staircase went all the way to the top, and then on the top there's like a little, what you can only describe as an office block. So we're going to put that on as well, so it will make it about this high when it's finished. So what we're doing now is we've drawn this out of Foamex at 5mm. I've covered the outside with 3mm Foamex, these pieces just in 3/4 inch strips. The same with this, we've just added the thickness on. I've done that side and I've done this side. The windows are on this one. We're now going to make this side. From this side, all you have, I've cut the piece out. What you have on here is a space here, what's cut out like a big window with a reinforcing on it, and that is where they tipped it out into there to crush the stone. So we're going to put it there. In the real one there is an extra line what does that on the outside of these. These were both loaders. This went to the crusher and it was tipped in and then taken up in like a chute. So, but we're going to have to do a slight variation. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it as though this was it here. There'll be a hole cut into it. That'll go into the crushing part, which we're not going to put in. It'll just be in the floor, a circle or whatever we chalk in it. It's got a roof what comes off in concrete. And from this side, we're going to take I would imagine it's like buckets what take it up, the crushed stone, take it up to the top to load it back into the wagons. So what we'll do is we'll carry on and panel this the same at this height. I don't think I'll do a lot below that because the building itself will be as high as that, I would have thought, or somewhere near. And we'll obviously fill it out so it fits in. And we'll just carry on and do some more and show you how we're doing it. Right, what I'm doing now is just marking out what I need. This is the part, obviously, what matches the rest of that. So what I did was I made this 9 inches wide and then put 3/4 inch, 2 inch, 3/4, 2 inch, 3/4, 2 inch, 3/4. And then what I'm going to do now is just line this, draw lines on it so we can see where it is. And this will give me the guidelines to stick it back on again. Yeah, we bought the hopper wagons. I bought some at one show and some at another show. Purely because I didn't like the Garrett pulling smaller coaches, or still looks alright with coaches, but I've always wanted it to be a bit more industrial. And we thought about coal wagons, we thought about all different types, African wagons. But then I saw them at a show last year, I think it was, and I got them a good price. I liked them, and I'd seen them at somebody's garden railway. Somebody had a set, and I did like them as well. So I decided to get our own, and I really do like them. They look great. Right, so now what I've done is I've drawn that out. This was made, when you look at the building itself, was like a big concrete panel. This must be slotted in real life, and they just dropped them in and then cemented them in, I think. Oh, that's how it looks as though it's made. So we're going to put some lines on now to match. So we did these, what we thought was somewhere near just an inch. And the same with this side. Then what I did was I literally just scribed them across. So that one I'll scribe as well, and then scribe these. I didn't go right to the end because that end's bare and you'll see them, so just literally scribe them in the middle. Now obviously these will be highlighted in the concrete to look as though there was slabs just popped in. The one at the moment, when you go to Warren Percy, it's quite old and there's bits of moss growing out of it and everything else. There's plenty on YouTube of it, and people have done these like aeroplane things, what fly around, and took pictures of it. So you could always have a look on there and see what we're trying to achieve with it. It was quite an extensive quarry. There was a beautiful crane there, on a railway crane with like a shovel on it, great big excavator or whatever you call them, and it actually lifted 3 ton of chalk at any particular one go and loaded it into the wagons, which came straight into here. It was then loaded onto railway wagons, what went to wherever it went. I think according to them, I think it was up in Cleveland or somewhere. So it wasn't quite round here, but we're going to make it so it goes to Hull, obviously. The next stage, once I'd done that, I'd cut myself some 3/4 inch strips. So you simply pop in one of these on there, drawing a line on it so it fits this piece. Square it off. I constantly use a square. I don't like not having everything straight and neat. Cut that one off, and then what I did then, because I like it to stick pretty quick, it just literally, that's an activator. There's some glue. Pick the nicest side. So this is the side where I've been drawing on it. Plenty of super glue. Line it up with the top. And stick that one on. And that one goes on there like so. And then just keep that clean over. This one, I'm going to put in the depth of it. I think I'm not going to cut the shape because I'm going to cover that up. There will be a building there, so I'm going to, yeah, if you put a man in there it would be higher than that, so I'm going to go for 2 inches. I'll put a 2-inch strip on there, so I'll cut myself a 2-inch strip in 3mm. Again, it's a tatty piece we've been using for other things. Pop that on there. Again, using a curved blade. See where I've been scribing and marking on back of this, because we don't see that side. I think I'll measure that one, it'll be easier. An inch piece. Like so. We'll pop that on there. This just helps it go off quicker. Nothing more than that. You could actually stick it without doing that. It doesn't make any difference. I just find it quicker. But the system's so quick anyway, you don't really need to make any faster than it is. When I used to build these, the first ones I ever did was in plywood, and of course you was using white PVA adhesive, and you was having to pin it, clamp it, and take forever to get something stuck on and what have you. So you was doing a part and then leaving it. And now I try to speed this up, and I think when I think back how quick that system was compared to this, I don't know why I'm rushing. There's no real point to it. This is more about 10 times as fast. So that's that piece. So now what we've got to do is drop some of these in. I'd clean them off, get them lined up where they look quite reasonable. Mark one. Test fit it. Make sure it goes in nice and neat. Just the tiniest little bit. Like I say, I've always been one who prefers to trim it back rather than try and cut it dead on first time. Get it so it's a nice fit, which that is, and then we're literally doing exactly the same again. Sure which side looks the best. Sometimes if you cut and turn it over, you'll find these edges look better. Again, super glue. Pop that in there. So it's lined up, press it in. And that's that one. It's not quite exact right there, but I won't be able to touch it now. That must have moved as I pressed it. Looking for me. A bit of emery paper. Do another piece. We'll do another one. So that one. We'll square that little piece off. This is on the back side. So this one's facing away from everybody. So you can't actually see this piece. I suppose you could, if you was at a glance, you could see it when you walked into the garden or walked down towards where this is now. You might see a part of it, but you don't see a lot. I don't put a ton of this on. When you squeeze it and push it like this, you're actually stopping it coming out very thick. So it is quite thin. It looks as though I'm putting loads and loads, but it isn't a massive thickness. So this one, keep it as near as you can to the lines. Drop it there. Press it on. And like I say, I do actually use that to speed it up. But within a few seconds this will be better, and if I hadn't used an accelerator, that little gap there I could have coped with not having. That'll mean I've got a little bit of filling to do, so sometimes it's actually easier to do it with. So again, I've cut all these out, so square one off. Pop it in there, mark the end, test fit it, just a slight little bit off the end of there. Now you can't do that with a curved blade, trimming bits off, so you've got to come back with your own other knife to take a real thin shaving off. And then pop that in there, like so. Make sure you're happy with which way around you're going to go with it. That looks pretty reasonable. In there, so it's lined up, and in it goes. So there we are, that's our first panel in. As you can see, I mean, there's a join in there, but once it's painted, nobody will ever see it. So we're going to carry on and finish that off. I'll just neaten these edges up Like I says, if you use the Activate, you've got to be bang on. I'm about a millimetre out there. That will need a bit of filling, so just remember, you know, just to be careful. There we are. Then we'll carry on and do the rest. We've drawn a square, so I'm going to cut this square out. I'm just going to mark where it is with my scraper. This is the chute for the big lumps of chalk. So this is where we're having to put this inside this building, but it's going out of this building into another building, which is a brick based one, but we'll see that when we get to that stage. But in theory it was in its own building, and there was another railway line which was up in the air and dropped it in. So we're like making our own adaptation of it. I'd like to have gone up in the air, but I couldn't get my track in. We reckoned you'd need a good 10-15 foot of sardines to do it. And like all of us, we only have limited space in our gardens to put these things in. Being such a big scale, you've got to just be content with something near. You know, I mean, we'd all love everything to be, you know, miles of sardines and such like, but we've just got to accept what we've got. I'm quite fortunate that I've got a reasonable size. In fact, I think I've got a good size railway. That's it. So we've taken that one out. This is the side you'll see. The other side's actually inside another building. So what I'll do is I'll just round these off. And what we'd have there, this has got quite a substantial beam above it, which we can pop in. We'll do it like that, so you see it from the inside. But it's also got like a chute on it inside. So if you look like so, so this is the side what's inside the building, this is the outside. So what's inside is like a metal chute, so it slopes sort of like that downwards. So when you tip your coal, well, it's not coal, it's chalk. When it tips in, slides down this chute, it narrows off. I'll build the part so you can see it, and it goes into like a big round drum into the floor. Because it's higher up, about 10 foot higher, there's like a, you can only describe it on the video, like a great big crushing stone, like a millstone what turns round powered, and as the chalk falls in, it just crushes it. It then goes down and it's collected in like in a chute what goes into buckets. That comes back up and feeds back into the building. So it'd be from there on the outside, you'd see it, so it'd come back up and go into a chute here. So we're going to have a shed here on this side. The shed will come out like that. It was concrete roast but brick built, so we're going to just extend it slightly that way so we can put a door in, and to make up for the office we haven't got, so there'll be like an office on the side of it. And then out the back of it we're going to put a chute in what goes like that, and it's covered over like a square, and inside we presume there was buckets what rotated, that went on round on a conveyor belt and just pulled the chalk dust up to the top and tipped it back into the silo. So we'll carry on and put this back into the building now. So we've got this part done, so we'll put this in. Right, so we've now made this part. So we've got the concrete panels on there. These we think we just dropped in, just like like a breeze block, I suppose, with a rebate on. And this part is going to be the inside of another building. If you turn it round, this is the part what goes inside of the actual chutes. And when we looked and filmed this part, this had loads of lumps out of it, massive lumps. And we think it was because on this side of it, the tipping a wagon over, and we think it was hitting it. Wherever it was catching and knocking chunks of this concrete over. So we've tried to portray that a little bit. We don't know if that went right to the floor. It'd be a bit dangerous if it did, so we're going to leave the wall in. Health and safety in the 30s right up to the 60s, I don't know. Don't know if that's how they would have done it. The pictures looks as though it goes to the gravel, but it could have had wooden boards in, we don't know. But I think there'd been a small wall or wooden or whatever. So we put that in. So this is the inside. So what we're going to do now is we've got our piece back again. So we're now going to drop this inside of there, like so, and glue that one in. And this is where it all sticks in, like so. So we've then got the roof in and the thingy. We've got. Pat wants me to actually make these work. Thinks it'd be a novel thing for the grandkids or kids what come round and see it. And I suppose we could actually cut proper chute holes in the middle. They put 2 bottles in with a neck on, so you can just pour the gravel in, make the top removable, and then just have a little pulley system where we can stop the chute and fill the wagons up. I think we could do that. I don't think we can actually make a thing what goes up the side of here and takes the stuff to the top. I don't want to be doing that. Pete, a mate of mine, had a go at doing something like that. Anyway, it's quite reasonable, but at the end of the day it's a model, and where you are to do that would be rather inconvenient. You'd be stood in the middle of our garden. So the next job is just to mark a line where we need to stick this. The oddest thing was, we noticed when we was walking around this, it had like some coving on the inside like this, and it went right round on the pillars and everything. So even the ugliest buildings in the world have a little bit of fancy somewhere, I think. You know, it was quite surprised us that they did that. So what I'll do now is I'll glue this full edge. I won't glue that one. I'll glue that one second. I'll just start by getting my super glue and working my way down. This one's a little bit thicker glue. It's not a thin one, so it does take a little bit of getting out, but it is really, really good. Just got a little tiny bit up there. What I did was, this rebate, obviously I cut it to the 8mm because I've got fab and a 3mm cover on it, so I made that recess 8mm. Line it up on the bottom, make sure you're on all the way down, press that one on, same with that. Make sure everything is lined up as you possibly can. The nearer you can get it, the more or less you're going to be having to fill. But then looking at the building, it's quite coarse, isn't it? It's not, you know, really refined and put together like a structure you would. Everything's perfect. It's quite coarse, but I would imagine it would be. So there we are, that's that piece in. I'll just give that a squeeze, make sure it's all stuck on. Bit of sand down, so if there's a bit of glue in there, when you sand it, it'll take that piece back. Like so. There's a little trick, as we'd, if I can show you. That's where I did get that one a little mil thick, a little bit further back. So what you can do is like I do, and it looks at all your joints, people say, oh, your joints are really, really good, and they're actually cheating. So put a little bit of super glue on, wipe off the surface, sand it, and the dust you're pushing in is enough to fill it. Perfect joints. Yeah, really, but look it. So we didn't put that like a coving round there because we didn't need it, because there's a building on the end of there. So the next stage is obviously sand all these down, these corners, get them all nice and neat, filled in properly, and make sure it's all nice and smooth. And what we'll do then is we'll put this platform in. Now it looked to when they made this, it was just a concrete block, and theirs went only this far, because in the middle there was like an office with windows in both sides, but we've had to miss that out because we ain't got the space. So what we're going to do is take this office block all the way across, and instead of bringing the track, it was just a ladder down, we're going to bring it all the way across and bring the ladder down on that end, so it'll be there. But why you would go to all this and put a ladder and then a proper staircase all the way up from there like that, and it was a metal staircase made on 2 parts, so we'll do that because it did add a nice feature to it. At the building now, that has collapsed. The concrete piece is still in, but the ladder itself, there's the back piece in so far, but I think a section's broke off. But the outside section with the step has been, it looks as though they broke it off, taking it down to stop kids climbing right to the top, because there's no other way up but on this staircase, so you couldn't now get up to here. But when you get to this top, there's a railing round it, and then there's this, like, you can only class it as like an offices at the top. What there would be for, I have no idea. If anybody's got a clue why they had them up there, give us a little, put us a little feedback and let us know. So there we are, we'll carry on, and I'll put this piece in and we can go from there. Right, so what I've done now is we've made the top for here. So what I've done is I've made just it fits on. I've put a wall on because we don't want it blowing off and we want it to be loose. What it is on the top is just a basic concrete structure. It's got a door and I think it's 3 windows. We've restricted ourselves to 2 windows. They're very simple, plain windows, plain door. Well, I presume it was a plain door because there is no door there now. And there's a couple of hatches inside. I presume that was like an entrance to the what you call it, the actual kilns themselves, or silos. There's a hatch there, a small one. Maybe that was a machinery hatch, I don't know. But I'm going to pop them on when I get a bit further on with it. So what we've done is, again, 5mm, what you call it, Foamex. Absolutely simple to make is this piece. I'll pop it on, then you can see how it looks. And that's the full height of our building. I hope Pat can get that in. And that's the beginning of it. What I'll probably do next is Pat's now started to paint it, so this is her undercoat colour. She'll carry on and do all of it in the undercoat. She's put a few marks in here and there, little chips. There's a lot more damage on the real one than there is on here. She did a lovely piece of damage on that side, but unfortunately I'm going to cover that up with a big building. But That's the side we will see. So we see this bit and the front bit more than anything. But I like it. I love the little bits. As it stands now, there's grass growing in these. There's bits growing all over this. The staircase, there's one little piece. We shall have both staircases on, and the railings on, and everything else. But there we are. I hope you're enjoying it up to now.